Hello everyone, Nursky is back casting you guys some StarCraft 2 matches. Got a little sidetracked, got invited to the Star Wars beta over this past last week and played the tar of the game, really wanted to check the game out. I can say firsthand the game is phenomenal, so if you're into MMOs looking for something other than like a WoW, that might be a place for you to go. But that's where I've been the last couple of days, so now back to casting games. Going to finish off the series that I was casting before I left, that of course being the series between TLO and Haypro. So let's get into our introductions of the players, guys. First off, spawning as our Purple Terran, he is going to be Team Liquid's TLO, and his opponent spawning as our Blue Zerg, Liquid Haypro. Going to be on the map, MLG Antigua Shipyard here for game number 2. In case you guys may not recall, whoa, ton of lag. Looks like they got it sorted out though. But anyways, in case you guys don't recall the results from the first game, you of course can go back and just watch it on my YouTube before watching this game, because it was an epic 54-minute long game between these two players. But if you don't want to do that, quite simply can just hear the results from me right now, which is the fact that Haypro ended up winning the game just barely over TLO. So it was a very, very long 54-minute TVZ, but Haypro eventually came out victorious, was able to finally crush through the defenses of TLO, as TLO was oh so very defense heavy. But it was quite the epic game, a lot of back and forth at the center of the map, as they did go half map, half map. But luckily for Haypro, he was able to secure those two all-important top and bottom expansions, and then just made a massive push to finally finish the game off. Like, he had to have had something in the neighborhood of 20 Broodlords to make that push. So I have to wait and see how this game number 2 is going to go. We do see Haypro opting for the more economic style of opener, going for that later pool and slightly later hatch first. Essentially the same build, but just a lot later ordering. Now, interestingly enough, we do have Haypro positioning this barracks, built it up on this high ground, floated it to this low ground area, so it looks like he wants to try and apply a little bit of pressure from this one-racks play. Now, we do have the gas up here of TLO taken as well, and Haypro is going to be completely aware of everything going on. And I realize that there's only one barracks up here for TLO in the early stages of the game. First SCV is on the way here to Haypro's base. Actually, he's just about to have his pool up. Easily going to be able to defend with a couple of drones temporarily until TLO decides what he's going to do. And it looks like TLO actually is going to push, sending his first Marine towards the front here. So TLO looks like he's going to at least attempt to push off of this one barracks play, going immediately into a fast factory. Going to be relocating that barracks as well. And there goes down the bunkers. TLO is going to try and get away with the bunker play here. Sixlings already on the way, both of the queens of Haypro on the way as well. Should be able to easily hold this. Really, there should be no threat at all. If TLO's lucky, he might be able to pick off a drone or two, and he does manage to get a drone. Gets 2 drones, gets a third, and even a 4th drone. A little bit of sloppy drone control there by Haypro, but ultimately Haypro's going to easily hold this little attempt at a bunker rush. Looking at the economy tab, you can see it has hurt Haypro a little bit, now down 4 drones after losing a couple of drones there to that little minor push of TLO. Can't say it was the best control I've ever seen. Immediately throwing down a spine crawler, realizing that Hellions will most likely be the next play. Also going to steal the extractor here of TLO. It will make it a little bit more difficult for TLO to tech up past where he is. Do see the first Hellion now on the way. Not going to do a whole lot of damage. The spine crawler will be done just about in time for this first Hellion to get to the base. Still no gas right now in the base of Haypro. Just that one gas extractor that he stole of TLO's. I'll be very interested to see exactly how these guys are going to play the second game out. Do see TLO has gone into a fast expansion behind this initial factory, and it looks like he's going to be adding another quick factory, so this could definitely be a mech play out of TLO. Gonna probably rally at least a few Hellions to the front of his base. Now, it does not have a reactor on this initial factory, so not going to be able to apply too much Hellion pressure early on. But after he gets a few Hellions built, we'll be able to try and go and pressure Haypro a little bit. But this will put him a little bit behind in a sense, because Haypro will have a little bit more time to build up his drone count, build up his defenses a little bit, and really this Hellion attack, if and when it comes from TLO, is going to be quite a bit weaker than it would be otherwise. You see a second factory now finishing up, second command center getting morphed into an orbital command, moving that barracks. Is going to poke in with these initial 3 Hellions. Not sure this is going to be the wisest idea, but he is going to try and do it, see if he can get a couple of drone kills. Looks like he will manage to get 2 drone kills. Now trying to kite the lings here of Haypro, taking a little bit more damage here. Both these Hellions starting to get pretty low, trying to get a couple more drone kills if he can. Haypro wisely going to cut the Hellion off, and will get 2 more drone kills. So has killed a couple of workers here early on. Look at that, 10 workers killed so far for TLO. Wasn't expecting him to be able to do as much damage as he actually did. And now, interestingly enough, we have a very fast 3rd command center, and Haypro will spot this. This is a very greedy play here by TLO, really counting on these Hellions to give him a lot of map dominance in the early stages of the game. Does not even have a single tech lab or reactor on any of his factories, building a 3rd factory already. So this could actually be a little bit problematic for TLO should Haypro actually just try and pressure him a little bit, building a Roach Warren now, since he is expecting to see mech play in all likelihood. Looking at the income tab, you can see, despite the fact that he has gone 3 fast command centers, Haypro way in the lead in harvesters right now, 49 to the 29 of TLO. TLO looks like he is going to be pushing out once again with just a handful of Hellions. Haypro is now starting to tech up a little bit more. Has started to get some of his gases, has some roaches on the way. Might actually be going for a roach link push here. We'll have to wait and see. Does just now have his link speed started. Here comes those Hellions again to try and do some more economic damage. We'll kill a couple of weakened drones right off the bat. Not going to be going after the rest of these drones. Haypro doing his best to just spread these drones out, but TLO actually getting a lot of kills with these very few amounts of Hellions. This is actually going pretty terrible for Haypro in the early stages here, losing a lot of drones. Just really just some sloppy control, not even attacking with the Queens right now. Now finally a couple of Roaches come out, and it will kill the Hellions, but look at all the drones that were killed. 31 workers now killed here by TLO. Really just honestly sloppy control there by Haypro. You saw his Queens just actually sitting there hanging out as TLO basically just did whatever he pleased. He does realize that that TLO has taken an extremely greedy 3rd, but not trying to pressure it at all. So I'm kind of curious to see what exactly Haypro's plan is going to be here. Does have his lair started. Looking at the economy, still ahead of TLO despite all of the damage he has taken, but a little bit behind due to the fact that TLO does have 3 orbital commands, adding in those mules, so that will put him behind quite a bit in mineral income. As you can see, the disparity on the tab there, despite the fact that he does still retain a few more harvesters, but losing 31 harvesters basically for free. Could have quite easily defended that with even just a handful of lings, since it was only just 3 Hellions at a time. You have 1 Hellion still camping out here at the center of the map. Tech Labs finally added on here. Siege mode getting researched. No blue flame for the Hellions just yet, so very Hellion heavy, but really not able to do anything with it at all. I mean, look at the unit tabs right now. TLO is basically hanging on with 5 Marines, 2 tanks, and 2 Hellions. I mean, to be totally honest, if Haypro were to just push right now, I don't think there's any way that TLO could hold it. Now Banshee tech on the way as well. Do not know where he hid that starport. Actually trying to find that out. Looks like here it is over here in his naturals. Going for a very delayed Banshee. No cloak though, so gonna have to wait and see how this actually pans out. Now the Banshee should be able to save him from these roaches that are coming push in. Does already have siege mode on these 2 tanks, so that'll help him as well. Looks like he's going to be trying to break down these backdoor rocks to the 3rd base of TLO. TLO going to be unaware of this for the time being. A lot more drones getting made right now by Haypro. Looking around here, you can see he is starting to tech up, is getting his +1, has the 4th base now on the way as well. Going to be knocking down his own rocks so he can more easily defend that 4th base. Always very smart to do that on a map like Antigua Shipyard. Those Roach is still working away here. Now TLO's unit count has gone up significantly in the meantime. Does now have himself a single Banshee, has a Thor out, couple of tanks. Not really any Hellions, also kind of just going Thor tank right now. Kind of an odd composition here out of TLO in the early stages of this game. Here comes those initial Roaches. Now, there is not really anything here to defend this. They might actually be able to get a couple of worker kills here. At bare minimum, we'll be able to apply some pressure and prevent TLO from pushing out. Not that I think he would push out with the very limited amount of units that he currently does have. Might be able to get a couple of kills. We'll have to wait and see. Are in siege tank range, so he's going to just back off with those Roaches for now. A couple of more Roaches and Lings over here at the front of his base. 4th base just about to finish up. You can see a lot of his units moving around the map, still trying to get those rocks down to his 4th. Would like to see him try and get those down as soon as possible. It will make it much easier to defend that 4th base. Kind of a really odd game right now, to be totally honest. Spire just now about halfway done here for Haypro over here in the back of his natural. Second evolution chamber on the way. Just has +1 carapace right now. If we're looking at the upgrades for TLO, no upgrades at all for Bio. Not surprising at all since he is meching. Does have his first weapons upgrade completed. Weapons level 2 on the way here for TLO. And now we do have those first couple of Banshees finally starting to move out here for TLO. Now Haypro should be aware that there is these Banshees on the way. Easily should be able to defend them. You see the Spore Crawlers already going down. Here comes those Banshees. Cloak will complete, so he does have Cloak for these Banshees, so kind of an interesting choice here. Kind of an odd game, but it's pretty much to be expected when you see a game from TLO. And we do have a run-by attempt here by Haypro, but is going to be forced to back up. Those couple of Banshees will be defended. Not going to get any damage done whatsoever for TLO. Haypro now adding on some macro hatcheries to help him with his macro. Does have a single Spore Crawler defending his base. TLO might be able to poke at that a little bit if he does choose to. Do have those roaches and those handful of lings just kind of hanging out in the front of TLO's base. Now TLO does have a strong 3-base economy here. Does have the blue flame upgrade now on the way. Mostly Thors and tanks though with his unit composition at this time. As you can see, no Hellions really at all in production. Actually still doesn't even have blue flame, so this is like just basically a Thor tank build out of TLO. So TLO doing something really odd here. I'm not really sure how well this is going to work out for him. I would think some good control with roaches and or just a lot of Mutalisks could actually just crush this type of a composition. Once the Thors are out of the equation with no Marines, I really don't see how TLO would actually defend anything. Now here finally comes the first batch of Mutas going to be moving over here into the base. TLO easily takes down the first missile turret, and that's Watchtower. Going to deny this command center from completing for a little while. Do see TLO basically just ignoring this, moving out onto the map. Is going to lose this command center. Does have yet another command center building as well. This command center now will finally go down. A single Thor now in the base here for TLO. Right now Haypro just building up a lot of forces over here in his main. This is going to force these Mutas to back up, at least for now, even though they probably could just kill this Thor. Here we go, moving in, magic boxing. His Mutas should easily be able to take out this single Thor. Meanwhile, TLO is basically sieging up in the middle of the map. Does not even have any Thors over here to defend this. Do see right now Haypro just running rampant in TLO's base. I'm not really sure what TLO's plan is here. Is sieging up in the center of the map right now, is losing his entire main. You do have a lot of SCVs moving on to finally repair the store. Viking on the way as well. Haypro's going to actually want to back these Mutas out. Losing a lot of his Mutas. Now does finally see he's losing the Mutas. Will back them away. So TLO is going to hold on here. Did lose a little bit of his main base. Do see a couple more Muta reinforcements coming in now. Haypro going to be going right back on the attack. Magic boxing those Mutas. Going to maybe get one of the Thors. Yes, will get one of the Thors before any of the SCVs can actually get over there. Picks off that tech lab once again. But TLO will hold. Now floating a command center towards this gold base. A lot of tanks in the middle of the map. Built a lot of turns to actually defend these tanks. And now we have a huge run by over here towards the front of TLO's base. Another run by over here into the third. There we go. Lings finally attacking. More Lings running over here in towards the Nash. We're going to have to try and defend that. Do have those Mutas over here in the main. Has lost quite a few of those Mutas to those stores being repaired. But right now we do see TLO having to defend mostly with his SCVs. Losing a lot of his SCVs. May actually even lose his orbital command if he doesn't pay much attention to it. Having to back up some of his forces. Huge roach push moving along the side here for Haypro. Should be able to clean up these Lings shortly. Here comes a Thor to actually finish cleaning up these Lings. Burrows 2 of them so that he can hide them for later on. Here comes the Mutas back into the main once again. Needs to make sure those Mutas do not clump up. This number of Mutalisks should be just barely enough to take out the store unless it is repaired. We'll have to wait and see what happens. And now here comes the big roach push to follow this up from Haypro. Not sure how TLO is going to defend this. Does have a couple of tanks over there at the front. Does not have an entirely tight wall off. If those roaches can get close enough, they might be able to actually smash through his defenses. Those Mutas now wreaking havoc inside the main. Going to be able to take out these couple of tanks. Not sure exactly what TLO is going to be able to do about this. He's going to need to get some forces over here as these roaches just cleaning everything up. Only 3 Mutalisks left in the main though. Here comes a couple of Vikings. Should actually be able to clean up these Mutas. And now we have all the tanks of TLO starting to retreat from the middle area, actually leaving a couple behind. Now starting to back up, but these roaches doing a ton of damage. Now taking out the add-ons to the starports. Thor coming over here to try and help There is the couple of Banshees now coming in here to work on killing some of these roaches, but a lot of damage being done right now to TLO. TLO is trying to take this gold base. You can see transferring a lot of SCVs over there, but meanwhile, Haypro still just doing so much damage over here in the main, basically not letting TLO move out of his main, now taking his 5th base finally. A lot of attacking, not even really very well saturated at his 4th. Meanwhile, TLO is basically trying to turtle again. Doesn't seem to really have any intention to ever actually push Haypro. Just basically trying to slowly take this and go half map versus half map. Has buried a couple of roaches, burrowed I should say, along with these slings over here in the multiple areas of TLO's base. If we're looking at the economy tab right now, we can see right now 86 harvesters to the 64. Of course, he does have mules, has a lot of energy available, dropping a few of those mules down on this gold base. But meanwhile, back in the base of Haypro, he does have his hive tech finished, couple of idle drones, is morphing in a greater spire. As soon as he can get those broodlords, he should be able to actually end this game flat out. I don't really see TLO being able to hold on much longer. Does have a decent Viking count, so it's just kind of reminiscent of our last game, but I do believe that Haypro should be able to come out on top here now. TLO does have this gold base morphing in a planetary fortress now that will help him defend this. Does have a decent amount of air force out on the map. It seems like he's trying to make that same transition he made the last game where he goes into a lot of Vikings, only adding in some Banshees now as well for good measure. Do have a couple of Vikings just moving around the map trying to clear out a handful of Overlords. Drones not moving over here. It looks like he's going to try and plant down some hatcheries over here on the side of the map. Here comes those Vikings and those Banshees. Single spine crawler being made, but not going to be very useful against this composition from TLO. I do not know if Haypro actually has any mutas left at all. No, he does not. Building a lot of broodlords right now. It looks like he's gotten wise to exactly what TLO is trying to do. Not going to give TLO any kind of opportunity to sit there and turtle in this game. Just building a ton of corruptors already, building a ton of broodlords. Is prepared for the fact that TLO is trying to make that same heavy air transition that he made in our game number 1. And it looks like Haypro just wants to build up a giant force and then attack in to TLO's forces. Does only have a few infestors, no pathogen glands for those infestors. You can see he has not researched this. He does not have fungal. Does have a lot of corruptors, however, to try and help defend these broodlords. Getting ready to move forward now. We're going to have to wait and see who can hold on here. Here comes TLO, going to be trying to attack into these broodlords, actually getting a lot of free shots in on these broodlords. A couple of the Vikings actually spread out, fighting the corruptors by themselves. Haypro going to be able to easily clean those up. Now just needs to get over here and clean up the rest of these Vikings. Once these Vikings all go down, it's going to be pretty much trivial at that point. Just 4 broodlords now remaining. Corruptors will clean up the remainder of these Vikings. Might lose the majority of his broodlords though. Just 2 broodlords now remaining. But the last Viking does get cleaned up there by Haypro, and now I think TLO is going to be in a lot of trouble. Do see Haypro moving forward. Now going to be starting to work on this gold base. Does have another base up here, but it is being assaulted by a single Viking while this is all going on. But it does look like TLO will most likely lose his gold base eventually. He does have a lot of corruptors around the map. Looks like he's reinforcing now as we get a little bit of lag. Sorry about that, guys. Couple of lings reinforcing. It looks like he's going to try and run those by over here towards the 3rd of TLO. TLO trying to build a bunch of orbital commands in the center of the map, but those broodlords just running roughshod over his entire base right now, slowly working away at this planetary fortress. They will kill eventually, adding in a few more broodlords now as well. So it's really, I think, just a matter of time before TLO is going to have to GG out of this game. I'm not really sure what his plan is going to be here. Taking a lot of damage over here. Is building up some forces over here. Do have those lings now running in, trying to kill a couple of these SCVs off, but the Vikings landing will easily clean up the rest of these lings. Just basically turtling right now is TLO. Does have a single Brave run out. No Hunter Seeker missile. Is actually upgrading right now his Terran ship weapons. Does not have any way to actually switch into battle cruisers right now, so basically just trying to survive off of a mass Viking composition against a lot of corruptors. So I'm not really sure how well this is going to actually work out for TLO. You might actually be better off switching into more of a marine heavy composition, but he is pretty low on minerals right now, and I'm not really sure how this is going to work out. Kind of an odd strategy from TLO, and I think it may end up costing him this game. 2 of those roaches moving in, going to try and get to these siege tanks, but his tanks will siege up, and Haypro wisely just backs right out. You have those couple of broodlords now moving forward. Very light on the broodlords, actually. Just 4 broodlords right now. Realizes that TLO mostly has air forces. Good fungal growth goes down on those Banshees. That should allow him to clean all these Banshees up. Yes, it will. Takes out every single one of the Banshees. Here comes those Vikings. Now, needs to be careful. If they all get fungal at once, it'd be absolutely tragic. But we do see Haypro trying to hold on there, trying to get in there, poking around those couple of siege tanks, trying to stop the roaches, but the roaches will go through. Are taking out the broodlords, though, could eventually break all of the broodlords. Just one broodlord now remaining, but all the tanks are now destroyed of TLO, and I really don't think he has an answer for all these roaches. Fungal's now going down on all of these. PDD is down from that Raven, but I'm not sure it's going to really be effective. Does manage to clean up all the corruptors, but I'm not really sure what TLO's move is going to be here, because these roaches are now running through his base unchecked. Does have a siege tank over here on the high ground. Siege tank just now popping out on the low ground. Still does have this third base. Has not taken it out just yet. A couple of infestors still doing a lot of damage to all of these Vikings. Just do see some of them have landed over here in his main. TLO trying to hang on right now, but I really don't know what his recourse is going to be. Is going to lose this armory over here. Is probably going to lose a lot of his base over here in the natural. Now finally pushing out with all those Vikings and siege tanks, trying to hang on here. Looks like he will actually manage to just barely clean up all these roaches. Roaches do not have very many upgrades. Now burrowing that one roach. Does have a couple of infested Terran working on some of the buildings outside of TLO's base. TLO has transferred an orbital command center over here to take a fourth base once again, but behind this, Haypro has taken his gold base. He's taken his bottom left-hand corner base, taking this base now as well. If we look at the economy, we can see right now still 73 harvesters to 59 in favor of Haypro. So really this is all going to come down to whether or not TLO can actually hold this base, because it's really going to be his only mining base pretty shortly here. Does have a lot of SCVs actually just hanging out. Finally does get that taken care of. Does have some minerals over here left at his natural yet. A lot of minerals at this base. Just got that set up. Kind of starting to run low over here at his third. So really I think it's just going to be a matter of Haypro to move out with another big force. You see now 4 more broodlords, I should say, getting morphed in once again for Haypro. Is now getting this gold base up and running as well. Do have a run by of roaches coming over here into this third base. This is going to force TLO to pull out all of his SCVs. Does burrow a lot of the roaches. Just unburrows 3 of them. No forces really all to speak of for TLO to really deal with this. Now moving a couple of siege tanks forward. We'll be able to pick off this one roach, but he needs to be careful. Moving these 2 tanks up towards the top. I'm not sure he's remembering the exact count of roaches. Does siege these tanks up though. These roaches though just kind of hanging out there. And now here comes the broodlords once again from the front. Does have his infestors and corruptors over here as well. 183 supply right now for Haypro. Is just way ahead of TLO. Good funnel growths go down, getting a lot of these Vikings. A little bit of lag, guys. I apologize for that. Good funnel growth goes down once again. Does get a lot more of these Vikings. TLO looking to be in absolute shambles at this point in the game. Not really sure what TLO is going to do. I mean, he's trying to hang on here and just get up some extra bases, but I can't really see this actually working out long term. I'm kind of wondering where all of Haypro's units are. If we look at the units tab, 83 drones, does have 21 roaches and 3 corruptors and 5 infestors, and is actually maxed out right now. Might want to actually consider sacking a couple of his drones. Needs to get some of these roaches actually rallied up, so to speak. Get them with the rest of his army. He has a lot of forces just kind of hanging out right now, spread out around the map. He's making another push for this third base. TLO is going to be able to hold on. It's sitting at 125 supply right now to the 174 of Haypro. This base, though, completely undefended. Haypro wants it at any time. He can basically take that base out. Oh, Ling's getting sent in now, going to be taking on a lot of those siege tanks. Will get shredded pretty quickly, though. Roach is moving in once again as well. Should be able to clean up a couple of these tanks, but I'm not sure they're going to actually be able to get all of these tanks, as a lot of the siege tanks still do hang on there. Might be able to get a couple more tanks. 1 roach remaining. Not going to be close into the siege tank, though, and the siege tanks will hold for now. Do see this 4th base basically running just fine here for TLO. It's what's really keeping him in the game at this point. Now do have a Viking drop, but those Vikings will be cleaned up over here. Does manage to take out this base from Haypro, but Haypro really doesn't need it. Does have this gold base. Still has this bottom left-hand corner base. Still has mining over here. So right now 3 bases of economy. Do see TLO holding on to this base. Now transferring some SCVs over here towards the mid-ground. It's going to be trying to take this base now. A couple of roaches now finally moving in over here towards the 4th base of TLO. TLO has no defenses whatsoever over here, so these roaches should actually be able to get a decent amount of SCV kills. Now it looks like just going to transfer those SCVs out of the way. Transferring now one of his orbital commands to this gold base once again, and trying to basically just half map versus half map. Yet again, I do see a lot of Infestors hanging out over here for Haypro. Does have a couple of Broodlords as well. Looking at the units tab, you can see it has 4 Broodlords, 11 Corruptors, 13 Infestors. Still has a ton of drones, banking a lot of money right now, retaking this base as well. So this is kind of a pseudo-ish half map versus half map, but really TLO not hanging on to these 2 outer bases, and he's going to basically run into the same problem that he did in the last game. Big Ling run by now coming in here for Haypro, going to try and do some damage and finish off TLO if he can. Don't know if he'll be able to completely finish him off, but we'll just have to wait and see. Getting a lot of these Lings through. These Lings do have decent upgrades. They are at T2 at the moment. Going to be killing a couple of those Vikings off, and now also at the same time going to be starting to push over here at the mid-map. Just 4 Broodlords once again, mostly Corruptor Force. He does realize that TLO is pretty heavy on Vikings in the overall. Really doesn't have any kind of ground defenses whatsoever. Now trying to move forward and take out these Vikings. Needs to be a little bit careful with these Broodlords. Does not want to lose them to TLO's army too easily. Gets a good form of growth off, and there's the GG finally. And Haypro is going to take this series 2-0 over TLO. Hope you guys enjoyed that series. I'm going to be getting out of here for now, guys. Please subscribe to my YouTube. Going to be doing a lot more casting now that I am done beta testing for that Star Wars game. So be back to casting on a regular schedule. Got this series wrapped up. I'll be moving into something new starting off tomorrow. So thank you very much, guys, for everybody who tunes into all of my casts. I appreciate it greatly. And this is going to be Nursky saying bye-bye for now, guys. Peace easy.